There we go. So as I say, so what we're doing today is we're going to get our database now loaded. And right now our application isn't working because our application is looking for a database with these settings right here.
Oh.
It's looking for a localhost 3306 with John Wick, the dog, and Geek Likes. That is not what we have on our Openshift system. The Openshift system does not have that database. We need to give it a database. Now, unfortunately, we don't necessarily know what the URL is going to be, and maybe even, I don't even know the actual database name, whether or not we decide to create it. And one of the benefits that Openshift allows, it also allows for a randomized username and password to be generated for us to help with security purposes. But it will generate a complex randomized both username and password for the database that we create, and it will manage those items for us. And at any times that those change, or if we want to scale or anything like that, those items can be carried on as well. We'll look at how we can use that. The problem is making sure that we can set those here. We can't really set those with these. Now, one thing I want to clarify is I have seen reports that I can put environment variables in this file. However, all my attempts to do that have failed. I cannot get the environment variables to work, so I'm not doing it. I'm going to use the environment variables on the system. And then there's one or two things one thing I've done before is by commenting these out, it'll work. What I want to test with you guys to see is, do I need to comment these out in order for it to take the environment variable when the environment variables overload? Which one takes priority? Do these take priority, or do the environment variables take priority? And that's what I want to find out with you guys today, because when I did this before for the Openshift hackathon, I commented these 3 lines out when I build my project. When I go to develop locally,
takes priority.
Openshift takes priority.
Yeah.
So the environment variables. Nice. That'll work then. Cool. And I didn't need to comment on. I commented out to be safe because again, I learned all the Openshift stuff in the course of like 2 days, so I didn't take anything for granted and didn't play too much with it. So I just did what I knew would definitely work. Which is fine for you guys to do with your projects too. If you're not sure which one's going to work, instead of testing it all the time, just take the thing that seems most obvious. Instead of wondering which one's going to take precedence, don't let them fight. Get rid of the other one. So, yeah, we're going to do it that way then. Good to know. Glad you tested it, Freddie. Awesome. Yeah, well, then we'll just keep it like this. That means what we have uploaded already is valid and good to go. So let's go ahead and actually start creating that pod for our database. So we're going to create our database pod, which again has database cluster, which has a single, which will correspond to a single pod. Let's add. We're going to go ahead and go to our developer catalog. So this is different. We don't actually have to build a database. We also, unless we technically wanted to carry over the data, but even then, we still wouldn't want to do our own database. It's better for us to just use one that they've built because you're pretty much guaranteed a stable, strong version of it. That they've tested it, that's been tested by several people, not several people, but several companies and organizations. So what they have in their database, you'd be very confident is going to work flawlessly. And so we're going to use that. And if we did want to keep the data we currently have, we can always do a SQL export and a SQL import. If we did want to keep our database data, we could do that. We're not going to do that though. So let's go ahead and create our database. We'll click on database and we're looking for MySQL. If you want, feel free to look into the difference between ephemeral and MySQL. You can definitely take a look at what the difference is. The main thing is that this is not I want to explain without over explaining it because it's hard. I don't want to take the time to really describe it too much. The main thing is that it's a virtual kind of type item. It's not a straight up isolated version of MySQL. But feel free to look up the difference for that. And if you want to share it in Slack, go ahead. If you find a good way of wording it.
It says one of them is persistent and the other one isn't. It's kind of like when you were teaching us to build our
Right,
databases,
yeah.
The ones that hold it and the ones that don't. One that dumps when you end it.
That just seems weird. Why would you use it?
Maybe that's a temporary one.
Maybe. That just seems weird. I didn't think it was that. That was one that resets every time you use it. That's odd for me. I'm going to look into that more.
Without persistent storage.
It says doesn't store it,
Bless
and,
you.
and it gets destroyed after you've
you.
finished it.
I'm not questioning what you said, but
Yeah.
it just seems like, why would I want that? Other than for testing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't, for me, I'm not really usually testing on OpenShift. I'm usually uploading my finished version on OpenShift. But I guess, yeah, if you're testing, you can definitely check into that. The question is persistent in a sense of how long, or is it whenever oh yeah, there it is.
The
Any
data
data stored on
upon
the pod's
loss.
destruction, upon pod destruction. So
This
pod,
is only
so each
template
pod
testing.
is ephemeral, or each pod is isolated. So if you have two pods running, they don't necessarily share data with each other. Yeah, I'll use this template for testing. Good to know. Could use it, but I don't know. I'm fine with it. I want to keep it going because I know that because we're not going to be using it between now and next Monday, it's a good chance that the system will automatically turn off your pods and then you'll lose your data. So I don't want that happening.
But I think that's for like TDD, right? For testing.
You can help with that, yeah.
testing
Because you can also force the pod to get shut down by turning your pods to 0 and turning back on to easily and quickly reset your database. So there is a benefit to it. I thought it was something a little more fancy than that. Weird. Anyway, MySQL, we're going to use the one with persistent storage because again, I know that very few of you are going to be working with this between now and next Monday, and I don't want the pod to disable so that we then have to re-implement all our data, including our roles. So we're just going to use the non-ephemeral one for this for the moment. There we go. Instantiate template. Namespace is fine. Keep that as is because it's the namespace of the current project as well. Our memory limit, that's fine. We're not going to be using this too much. Namespace, we're going to call this our hold on, actually, one thing I think. Actually, no, that's fine. The image stream, we're fine with that one. MySQL, I was thinking of this one. Database service name, I'm going to call this MySQL geeky like. Connection username, we'll keep it empty because we want to get it generated. So the connection username is going to be automatically generated by Openshift, so we get a nice, secure, randomized name. Same thing with the password, leave it empty. Same thing for the root password. Leave all these empty. You want auto-generated items so that they are safe and secure. What's good is that we can pull these up by being logged into the admin under secrets. That's where they will be stored later on. They'll be stored under secrets. MySQL database name, we could definitely change it to the database name that's expected on our application properties, but I'm going to keep it something different. So actually just going to call this, hello. Like, yeah. And the volume capacity is fine as a 1 gigabyte. And that's fine. Everything else, this is all good as is. Any questions? Why did the service name is fine? Wait, I thought I changed that. Didn't I?
I saw you change it.
I saw you change it.
He started changing it and then he stopped.
That was the Openshift
Oh.
one. I undid.
Yeah, I saw you finish that one.
This is MySQL dash MySQL dash. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Right, yeah. Openshift when I was starting to change, but then change back. So yeah, this one you don't deal with. So not messing with the image stream. So yeah, good. Gigabytes dev, SQL database, volume capacity, version, good. Right, everything else looks fine. Yes. Create. It adds the item initially outside of any application because we don't tell it what application is going to be part of. So we're going to drag that into our application over here, holding down Shift and then dragging it over on top so that it then adds it to the application. And just for the fun of it, we're also going to add our little virtual connector, letting it know that our Java application is the item that's reaching out to our database. Later on, we add in our front end. The front end is only going to connect to this. The front end will not touch the database directly. So that's what's going to be really nice about seeing this, is that we're able to validate that even though we have these 3 items here, only the backend communicates with the database, and the front end only communicates with the backend. The front end has no direct communication with the database. And it's good to see that kind of stuff.
And you would pull it into that pod, well, the
application
ecosystem, right?
Yep, it would still be part of the same system. Yep, 100%.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Yep. So now let's go ahead and add in some set. Now that we see that the item is blue and running, so it's actively running, so it's happy, it's running, so it's all good and ready to go. Now we're going to go ahead and add those environment variables to our program here, so that it will start connecting to this instance. Notes. There they are. All right, so click on this. We'll go ahead to our builds, if I remember correctly. We got our CH12 Geeky Likes. This is the build for that Java application. Here we'll have again to builds again. Look at the build config. Not this actually. Hold on. Build config details. Oh, this is it actually. Build configs. Build config details right here. We want to edit this. Environment. Edit build config though. Make sure we're editing the config, not just that build specifically. We want to edit the build configuration, not just that one build. So that was the one build that was used to build the current application, which is singular. It's instance. It's an instance of the build config. We've now gone to the build config, so we can edit the build config itself, which then applies to every single build. So
How did you get to that menu, Cliff?
I'm going to show you again. Yeah.
Okay.
So back to the whole topology screen. Oh no, back to
Okay.
Go back to topology. Start there. So
Mhm.
from the topology, we go to the left and click on builds.
Okay.
I click on this build that we have here.
Oh, we click on that. Okay.
So you got the code CH12 likes, and then go to right here on actions in the upper right hand corner. And go to edit build config. There are other ways to get to it, I'm sure. This is just the way I've gotten to it. That's what's great about this application. There's multiple ways to get to the same location. You could probably find it under the administrator's view. There's probably a way of getting it through config maps, potentially a way to get it through build, through projects, and even under build itself. You could probably get to it. There's multiple ways to get to the same place in these applications. This is just the way I found. Once I'm in this, we're now editing the build config so that anytime we build or rebuild this project, it's going to follow these settings. So we'll just scroll down to see the environment variables. And this is going to add 3 variables, the same 3 items we needed from our application here. Spring data source URL, Spring data source username, and Spring data source password. What's fun and what's great about this, I won't say fun maybe, what's really useful and smart is that the environment variables are identical to these except underscores instead of dots.
Oh.
So we got the very first one, hit the caps lock, and do all environment variables are caps locked. Spring data source URL. Now the thing is, we need to get this. I wonder, actually, I'm going to check something quick. I wonder if the URL is actually in here somewhere. No, these are all secrets. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to get to dynamically get the URL, but I'll have to look into that later. Back to the topology for a second. We're going to open in a new tab because we got to go get the connection URL string from it. So we got to go to topology, open a new tab. So we can go back and take a look at our SQL instance to get the connection string for it. We'll click on our geeky likes. We go to the services. And then here is our cluster IP accessible within the cluster only, which is why we need to put it in the same application. By putting in the same application, these items can now access each other. So in the same likes clipboard dev cluster local. So we can access each other. So the Java application can access via this IP address. This IP address is not public. This IP address is local to the Openshift. This is one of those great items there is that way our Java application can connect directly to the MySQL instance. And that means the MySQL instance has no public URLs for outside connections.
Oh.
Keeping it, sounds good, right, Matt?
Secure. Yeah, my little bit of IT background, it is flashing like, oh, that's interesting.
Yep. So we got that, and we see that our normal port is open. So that's good there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And then pretty much if we look back at the URL that we had here, it's almost identical to this. We're going to keep the JDBC, MySQL, but instead of localhost, we're going to use that IP address, the port number, which we already see is 3306, and then the database name. So back to this tab right here.
To the end of that one?
Yeah, we did.
The database
and
name?
again, we can always go back and double check it. Yeah, what did I say? Can I actually double check it again?
You can finish.
What did I call it? I think I called it. Yeah, I think I called it. I can't look back at the video. It was Geeky Likes -dev, wasn't it? Or Geeky Likes dev.
Yeah.
That was it.
Geeky likes dev. Yeah, no
Yeah,
dashes.
no dashes and no capitalizations.
Correct.
So is JDBC. Yeah, what's with my sneezing today?
Bless you.
Not caps. JDBC, MySQL. Don't forget the colon after JDBC. So make sure it's very, very key. You do it like you see here. It's gonna seem very hard to see on my screen with the Spring data source here. So if you need to look back here to your IntelliJ, pay attention to make sure you do colons, because that was something I had a problem with before. People would put spaces, underscores, or semicolons, or dots, and it didn't work.
Can I
So
just use
JDBC
copy and paste?
You can. I don't like the copy and paste, but you definitely can. So JDBC : MySQL : // then the IP address we just copied. So paste that in. That's why I probably wouldn't have copy paste, because now you have to go back and copy the IP address again. That's why I didn't want to copy paste. Colon 3306 for the port number slash he likes Jeff for the database name. One of the things I always forget that I should probably write down whenever I do those. Relying on my memory is not always great. But there is our URL. Not much different than what we had before, just the new local IP address versus the localhost. Because they aren't on the same computer. So that's why we can't use localhost. So once we have that, now we'll add the two other ones, username and password. But we didn't set those, did we?
No, so we'll have to get them from the app.
Could do that, but
From-
also we have this thing here, add from a compact or secret. You remember correctly, I said that those items were going to be stored in secrets.
Secret, right?
So I'm going to click this. We're now going to do, again, all caps, spring source, username. And from the resource, we're going to go find our database. So we scroll down, we'll eventually see MySQL Geeky Likes. So we see that instance, that service we created, or that resource called MySQL-Geeky Likes. So I named it that. We go to select a key now, we'll see here are the 4 secret items we have: database name, database password, database root password, and database user. Which one do you think we need?
We can't
Database
see
user?
what's off of your screen.
Too low?
Yeah.
I can't do anything about that.
So that's the
Okay,
last
that's
one
fine.
though. There's nothing beyond database user.
Okay.
What's down there? There's something blocking the
I
screen?
can see database password, and then that's it.
Oh,
Ooh.
Think past it.
is your zoom bar in the way?
Maybe mine is. Yeah.
Scroll down, here you go,
Oh,
right there. So these are the 4 they give you. Yeah.
There we go.
Click on database user. And for some reason, it doesn't show it the first time you click it. It works for me when it does it, but if you want to actually see it, just click it a second time and it'll then show. Don't know why. That's an Openshift system thing. Maybe that's something, if you guys actually get hired by Openshift, you'll fix that. But when I clicked it once, it seemed to work. But just to make sure it's visually there, you can click it twice. That's something we found out during the hackathon. So username, and then the last one we need, of course, is our password. So again, caps lock, string, data source, word. Go ahead and select a resource. MySQL Geeky Likes. And then which one of these keys do we want to use?
You're gonna use database password.
Right. Be sure you use password, not root password. Root password is for the root user, which is not what we're using. We're not using root. So database password, and I'll click it twice just so that it shows there, even though it seems to work when I don't.
What's the difference between database user and database username?
Database name, database user.
Sorry, name. There we go.
That's just
what
the
I
name
was
of the
looking at.
database, which is here. We can't
Got
use
it.
it because it doesn't include the prefix here. But if there was a way that we could connect to it another way, and again, there's possibly a way with IntelliJ that maybe there is Spring Data Source URL and then Spring Data Source database. I'm just not sure of that key, so I just use this one. This is the one I'm familiar with. It's the one I like, so I go with that one. Anyway. Yep. So this works for me. This is the one I like, so I'm going with it. I go with what works. But again, with all these things, there's probably other different ways of setting it up and configuring it that you can definitely find and feel free to explore. I go and find what works and I use that until I find something that works better. Anyway, so we got that. Let's go ahead and save this. So now we have a, as you see here, chapter cohort 12, Geeky has been updated to version this. So now we have a new build ready. So now we have a new build config. So that means we can now build a new build on our topology, and we'll use this new build configuration with these new settings. It should now connect.
Do you have
Let's-
to add in the secret too, because you're using authentication to the database?
Sorry, what?
The secret, lost Mustang, do you have to add that into because you're using authentication, or is that
These?
only equal to the machine?
These
Yeah,
are so
but-
so the application properties file still goes. And so that means this
Okay.
data is still going. We
Okay,
can of course use these same, I don't know if these environment variables will work though.
I just didn't know if you
uh,
needed it because it's going from the database. I don't know. It generates it and writes it to the database, so it technically doesn't use the database, but I just thought maybe.
This stuff is not the same. Yeah, this stuff's different. This stuff will actually be
Okay.
pulled from application properties.
Mm.
Cool. Anyway, so we got that. Let's go ahead and yeah, we saved it. So let's go back to our topology and now let's tell our Java application to load a pod. So click on it, or right click and do edit pod count and bring it back up to 1 now. And then click save. And that should start it off and trying to build a. There we go. You see it's now creating. Build. Hey, look at that. That looks blue.
Wow.
Let's take a look at the logs. We can see, you scroll all the way down to the bottom. Oh, we got a crash.
Oh.
Why is it blue? Give it a second. It could be yelling at us because we don't have a user account. Let's see. Communication link failure. Why? You should be fine. Is it using the new build actually? I wonder. I don't know if it is. So let's go back to the pods. Let's go back to, I don't think it is actually. So we'll go back to topology. Click on it. We'll actually do a start build. So click on that. We go start build. Yeah, see, I think we're still using the original build. I don't think it's using our new build settings. So yeah, we told it to start a new pod, but we didn't tell it to build the new settings. Just bringing the pod back would automatically start a new build. Weird. Whatever. So what we probably should have done was actually done the build first and then increase the pods, but it's fine. Remember, I swear when I did this the first time, when I put up the pods, it would actually, if there was a new build, it would auto do the new build. But did I do something different? Anyway. Has been a month or two since I've done this, so might have done something different. There we go. See, now it's creating a new pod with the new build. This pod is still going to break, so this one will eventually get destroyed and not restarted. This one should work better. There we go. Oop, wait. That looks better. Yep. That's not crashing yet. Hey, look at that. Started application in 16.002 seconds. So we have a new build. I'll give you guys a second for your build to go.
Yeah, mine's still going.
Yeah. Good. We'll go back. We should see a persistent blue that doesn't go away this time.
Oh, no, mine's still errored.
Uh-oh. I'll stop sharing so you can share yours. Look.
Oh, hold on. It's, no. Ah. Keep, all right, let me share.
Let's go back to topology for a second.
Sure.
Click on likes. Do you have the second build went through? Good. Let's go ahead and just double check your build settings. So let's go to builds.
Builds. Okay.
Click on likes. Go to actions in the upper corner. Actually, before you go here, go to environment.
Sure.
On this page. Let's take a look at these, see if there's any errors in that.
Oh, where did my keys go?
So they don't really show, but you can try clicking them again if you want.
Okay.
Maybe you have to do them twice in order for it to.
It says, didn't need to do that for me, and I don't think it saves that for later on because I don't want people seeing them. But
Okay.
let's see. And just make sure that your Spring Data Source username, Spring Data Source password is spelled right. Spring Data Source URL. That looks good. All right. Looks fine. So, yeah,
I
let's go
saved it.
back
It didn't
to-
give me a new it didn't give me a new
Right, so you-
version number, so I
Correct.
assume
You
that's the
updated
same.
the existing build config. Yep. So
Okay.
back to topology.
Sure.
Let's click on Geeky Likes.
Mhm.
And then do another start build again, because you did make a change to the environment variables. So. While that's going, can you click on MySQL Geeky Likes and show
Sure.
me the URL, the IP address for that? We can verify that again.
Yeah.
Services.
That's right. Yeah.
210, 122, 30, 135, 210. I keep forgetting to bring out pad and paper whenever I do this class, this lesson.
I mean, I can open up a new tab and we can just toggle back
Go
and
for it.
forth between them. Sure.
Get my paper ready.
All right.
You could just
And
write it
then-
on his screen.
True, could have done
That's
that.
true
I
too.
Totally forgot about that.
And that is, I completely blanked on where this stuff is now.
It's on the other tab. I don't know. Oh yeah. if
No,
you
I
click
opened a
on
new tab, but
all right.
how do I
builds.
Yeah. build? Oh, okay.
And it's continuing. It's
That's
creating a
right.
new container, by the way, so we might have a good green soon. But yeah, environment. Yeah, see the keys don't stay, so that's fine. That doesn't look right. That number there, I
Doesn't
think
it?
is wrong. No, go back to the other one again.
It is.
nope, that's wrong.
What? How? I copy and pasted it.
I don't know. Did you accidentally do the one from? Hold on, before you get rid of that, can
Yeah.
you go to? I don't think details work. Go back to the topology for a second. I want to check something.
Apology, Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Click on the Java application
Mhm.
and go to services and click on, scroll down. Click on the service there. There it is.
Oh, it's looking for itself.
Yeah, you gave it its own IP address, not the SQL one. So
Sheer
let's grab the
brilliance.
SQL.
All right.
And you're not,
Yeah.
the fact that I
Wait.
knew that you probably did that tells you that someone else has done it. You're not the first
So it
person to grab
can't
the wrong
find
IP address.
itself? That's not good.
Well, it does, but
Yeah.
it's trying to connect to itself as a SQL address, and it's not a SQL instance. So it's connected to itself as SQL into the 3306 port, which isn't open. So
Okay.
it seeds itself, but port 3306 isn't open.
Builds here.
I don't know if you realize you stopped sharing your screen. So
I did. Yeah. I'm
okay, cool.
just
Anybody else have any
making it-
connection problems? Any other issues?
I'll let you know if I have them. I try to watch in class and do
Gotcha.
after class, because if I do both, I'm not gonna be able to keep up.
That's fine. Just check and see if anyone does.
Oops.
So we could go ahead and try to use this right away. And actually we can because we have a couple routes that are public, remember? The test routes. So if we go back to our IntelliJ quick, just to take a look at it, which is where, there it is. We go to our test controller, 2 seconds. Let's see. I'm gonna go to, not controller. Wait, no, yeah, controller, wait, what? Yeah,
All is the public content.
oh yeah, but I want to make sure I actually pull from our API too. So I'm gonna do news. We use our news API. So we're gonna do a news API so we can actually pull the news. So you can see that that still works, which it should because the API key should still be there. If not, we'll try all. But let's go ahead and open up Postman. Actually, we don't need to do Postman. This is a get mapping. So we can just go here. So clicking on our application again, we can go to our routes and see we have this route here. If I was to click this, it's not going to work because this is going to port 8080, just so you know. Well, not 8080, it's going to port 80, I believe. So actually, we'll do all first. Slash test slash all group, right? API test slash all. Public content. Oh yeah, we don't need the port number. So yeah, you see there, public content. So then if I do test, what was it? News slash Q? Yeah. News slash Red Hat.
I still have an error now that it finished. Fantastic.
Really?
Yes. I got an
Go for
access
it.
denied for the user. And now that my logs are gone. 1 second.
Access denied for the user.
Hold on. Let me come back and then come in here.
Hmm. Are you sure you did the same database name? I don't know how to
Same.
check that though. Actually, come back to me for a quick second. I'm going to show you now how to connect to the database. So
Just stop sharing
yeah,
for you.
Stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I want to show how to connect to the database. We should be able to then see what database name we're using. So I'm going to ignore this for a moment because I want to do the other thing. This I really don't care if that works or not. So feel like this actually API test. That should work, but we'll check that. We'll check back on that in a second. Just make sure my application is still running. And that worked. I'll check on that later, but for now, let's go back to here. We're gonna click on our database. See if I can. How do I get to it?
Want to go to terminal?
What is it? Oh, there it is. Yep, terminal. Beautiful. Hey, Jojo made it back. Nice. Oh, that's not it. Are we not in the MySQL yet?
I think you gotta still log into
I
MySQL.
know. I gotta go to the secrets and get the root password because I can do MySQL root e. I need the password. So new tab secrets. MySQL geeky likes. Database root password. Copy. Don't even need to look at it. Just click on the copy button. Come back and paste that in. You don't see it. Click enter and what?
Denied.
That should have worked.
Why did it change from saying using password no to using password yes?
Because I told it
I
I
think
want a
that's the-
password. Yeah.
That's the dash
Oh.
P, isn't it?
Yeah. Doesn't say that I was trying to log in without a password.
Got it.
Fine. All right, we'll do it this way then. Database user, copy. SQL. Paste. Dash P. Enter password. Copy. Paste. Hey, I'm in.
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
Gonna try to get this working.
No worries.
So you're gonna need to log in as the user every time you use the terminal here, right?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably root wasn't
That's-
allowed. But, yeah.
You're using the regular user for that database, not root, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Wait, well, so why do you have user as root?
Not here. This line.
Oh, okay.
And then once you log in, Matt, you can then use the show databases to make sure that this is spelled right.
It didn't. It's not letting me log into that either.
Yeah, well, if you
Sure.
didn't, I don't think his is gonna let him because he's not connected still. He still hasn't gotten the database part to work because he said he had errors.
Right, but he should be able to log in on that database because he's not using the job anymore. He's now logging in directly. Share your screen again, Matt?
Oh,
Sure.
I mean, you just need to rebuild your database instance, maybe. We'll see.
Let me try to grab my password. This is the
Database password. That line there,
database
yep.
password right
Copy
here.
that one. Back to there. Paste it.
Hey, now I'm in. Of
There,
course,
yeah,
it works
show
well on
databases.
screen.
Yep, but now show databases. Right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can keep looking until we get you working this time.
Okay, cool.
Let's get you working. So show databases, semicolon. Geeky like dev, you didn't get the S.
Okay.
So go back to your environment variables,
Go back to. Yeah, I'll do it over here.
builds, that one, environment. You can also,
Environment.
yeah. And then,
Yep. And
yeah, get rid of the S in the top item.
get rid of the.
No, on the URL.
Here.
Your database name is geeky like dev. You just forgot the S.
Fantastic. Of course it is.
I was like, you should have access. And I was like, that just tells me there's something
So-
wrong with the database name. So yeah, start build
You
again.
build.
Yeah. Build 6 is the charm. We got this.
Well, time 5 was because I clicked it too many times.
Welcome
How
to
many times
development.
have I sat, how many times have I sat trying to work this thing together, trying to rush
Yep.
it through?
Don't worry about it. I've seen build 20 before it got working.
Yes,
so
me
you're
too.
fine.
Oh.
The trials and tribulations of getting
Yep,
this to work.
yeah. Hey,
Yeah, I see a
Oh.
blue there. Let's go ahead and
I
check
see
the
a blue
logs.
there.
Let's-
Looks like it's
before we
not
get
gonna
fan,
work.
before we get excited.
Yeah,
Let's click
exactly.
view logs. Not there. View
That's
logs
lower.
on
Yep,
the
yep.
pod.
Next to,
No, no.
no, up.
Oh,
View
Right
logs
there,
on the
next to
pod.
running.
yeah, right there.
I'll
It
I'll
hasn't
figure this
crashed
out.
yet, so I think you're good. But oh, wait,
Well, it
why is
hasn't
it?
done anything yet.
Let's scroll up a little bit, or what?
Nope, that's all I got so far. It's coming.
It timed out.
It did.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, because it only stores logs for a little while, I think.
Oh, it says log streaming,
Yeah,
so I don't think
It's
it timed
good.
out yet, did it?
Yeah, I don't think it
it's
started yet.
fine. But we can find out. Do the same testing. So go on the other tab, go back to topology, leave that open. So here, go to topology. We'll go back to that later. You'll have to log. Oh, I should have kept that open actually, because we do need that eventually. But it's fine. Click on that. Scroll down. Oh, the build is still
Oh, it's still
running. Never
building,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
View
Okay.
that log. View
Sure.
that log.
It doesn't need to, but
At
fine.
least
Yeah.
I know where.
This is
Well,
useless,
the-
but yeah,
It'll,
Oh,
it'll
this is
tell
when
us
it's
how
actually
far
just
along
building
we
it
are.
up. Yeah.
true. Now,
Yeah,
the
this
waiting game.
Hurry up and wait, as my doctors used to tell me.
Starting signatures, very nice.
You should store that. You should get one of those SpongeBob backgrounds so that you can put in there. 2 hours later.
Food.
Load up on Google.
Well, there's that timestamp that I was looking at, one of those. at
That's
the
what Cliff's
time.
gonna do for
Oh.
his 10-minute timer next time. Put 10 minutes later.
And actually made a 2 minutes a timer with that below it, so that the timer goes down, but it just says that many minutes later. That'd be a funny timer.
I'll go make it for you on YouTube.
Oh, all
There
right,
you
this
go.
is running now.
There we
Let's see.
go. Good.
Yeah,
good,
look at
good.
that.
Yeah.
Starting anyway.
Scroll down.
That's as far down
There
as
you
it
go.
goes right
Yep.
now.
That's fine. Don't feel like this one would work because I think it's still using the old build, but we'll see.
Here we go. Here we
Well,
go.
Not yet. We haven't gotten past Hikari. There it is. Hikari pool. This is where it usually fails. Yep.
Ah,
So not this one.
Ah.
Go back to topology. This build that's still using the old build. So go back to topology
It
for a
is?
second.
okay.
Oh, that's the new one.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought this was the new one.
Yep. Build 6 is still building. See,
Oh.
No, it's running.
build 6 is running, right? But it'll eventually finish.
Oh, it has to finish.
That's just
Okay.
building, right? That's just building the environment. So none of
Oh.
the pods are actually using this environment yet because the environment isn't finished yet. I think it just did. Yep,
Okay,
the environment
because you have
stream, the log stream
successful-
just ended.
yep.
So yep, the build finally finished. So now if you go back
Okay.
to topology quick.
Yep.
You'll see that there's a new pod that started up. So click on it. A new pod running. Click on that one. This one should be the new
Oh.
one. Hikari started, Hikari
Oh.
completed. There it is.
Just
It should
about.
work.
New initialize JPA Entity Manager Factory. Again, you want to know some of the things that JPA is doing and how that stuff
Okay,
works.
starting
Look
all
up-
right.
There we go.
You can look up
Woo!
something called the factory pattern. The factory pattern is a class that builds classes based on other items. And
Sure.
so a lot of that stuff you guys have been wondering about what happens under the hood with all these interfaces we build and all these things we build. There are factory systems inside of JPA and Spring Boot that build classes based on what you actually instruct.
Okay, I think I'm finally good on this now.
So now, before you go,
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna have you. I'm gonna walk through with you now, so everybody else
Okay.
can see it because I've already done it once. So clicking on Geeky Likes, now scroll down to the routes. Let's click
Aha.
on that. Not that
Click
one.
on the little
Click on the
arrow.
location. Yep.
Yeah. You can click
one.
on the
Click on
little
that.
box arrow, do the same
You don't need
thing.
to click the arrow. The arrow just tells you it's going to open in a new tab. So
Mhm.
now at the very end of it, do slash
Oop.
at the very end.
Jeez.
API slash tests or test, sorry, slash all. Enter. Test or tests?
Let me see. So we want the
Test.
test route, right? Test
Yep.
controller.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
API
test route.
test singular. Did I do test singular? I did
You
test
did.
singular.
And you did all, so.
That should have worked because mine did.
Is your thing
Mine
running
doesn't work
though?
either.
No. Is his no, your application's not running. Does that matter?
No, this would just be running on the local host if I understand this correctly.
That's right. I thought about that. So try a different route. Try user.
Uh,
Yeah, mine's up. API slash test slash all.
Try user or something else that might.
Well, go
get-
back to the, well, go back to your pod to find what the error is,
Oh,
because I think it was
pod.
error out.
Did it?
Wondering.
Oh.
We're trying to figure out.
Or the
Mhm.
log, is it the log show you it? Like, if
View
it, if
logs,
it, if
yeah.
it crapped out?
Unauthorized. Oh, I did.
Is your test system not functioned?
Full
it's not
authentication is
that.
required. Interesting.
Let's
Why
go on
is
to the
that?
next stuff because we're not. I don't want to
Okay.
use that anyway because we're eventually going to go
Sure.
to the logins. It's possible that your security config, maybe you didn't do all the same configurations. You don't actually have the setup for tests to be public.
Okay.
There's some small. There could be something else that's wrong with it that might not be related to the
But
program.
it did work in the sense that it did go out and get that route.
Yes.
Even though it didn't return anything,
Yeah.
so your application is working.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So next thing we need to do, we do know that there is a slight issue with our application with how we configured it and how we set it up with creating user accounts. If I was to attempt to create a user account right now, what would go wrong? Any
You
guesses?
don't have the authentication.
Kind of. We don't have actually the roles. If you remember correctly, when we created our application, we had to enter the roles manually. Remember that?
Mhm. Yes.
And so
But
back
if
here
you-
under this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you entered them, should they not already? Oh, but this is rebuilding a new database.
Mhm.
Never mind.
Yep, not pulling from the local host. Yep.
Okay.
This is an empty database. So now I'm going to reset or show you how to get back to this location again, but I'm not going to get rid of this window because I don't have to log in.
Can you
again.
not just import from your local database?
I
what
could,
you
but that
had?
means I don't know exactly how I would because I would need to be able to send that file to OpenShift, and I haven't looked into how to do that yet.
Yeah, I was
could-
looking into that.
I could
and-
export it and then upload and then send it, but there's a way to do that. I do know there's a way in the CLI that you can make a OpenShift port available on your local host. So you can
Couldn't you
actually
just edit your YAML.
No, hold on, you're missing something. So the main thing here is that the SQL database that I'm interacting with right now is somewhere in the cloud, over in the internet, somewhere unknown, right? I don't know where it is, and the only access I have to it, the only access I've given to it is a local IP address so that my Java application can connect to it. So how am I able to connect to it from my local computer? I cannot. I have no way of using the MySQL command to connect to that instance from my local computer. If I was to create a dump of my local SQL information, so I actually have all the SQL data in a file, there's nowhere for me to upload that file onto OpenShift to store it so that I can then run it, that the SQL system will see. However, what I will say is something I don't have time to teach you, but you can look this up. The OpenShift CLI system does have a way to map a local port to a port on your OpenShift environment that's cloud-based. So now that port will link actually to your, for example, MySQL system. So I could open a local port, let's say 13306. On my local system, I could map that through the OpenShift CLI to reflect that MySQL instance and actually open like a VPN to it. It's a really cool concept that exists that I want to test. I just haven't had the time and haven't done it yet. Feel free if anyone tries it out to let me know how it works. But apparently that is a system that I read on one of their documentation, that it is something you can do.
What would the benefit from that be, though?
On my local, from here on
Connecting.
this terminal, I could actually run MySQL right here and actually connect to it locally and even run
Okay, so that's
and
what you're
actually
trying to
interact with it locally. Yep. And now that means any files on my local computer, I can now upload those to that system. By being able to run MySQL commands locally, I can now run MySQL commands with that and actually send it that dump file. Because it would be local, the file would be from my local system and then being streamed into the MySQL system on the server somewhere in ether, in ether space or ether space, whatever you want to call it, in the internet, up in the cloud. So that's the benefit of it. Since all we
You got
need
this,
are
Freddie. I
three
believe in you.
things, yeah. Since all we have are 3 items we need to add, I'm not going to go through that whole rigmarole to do that, which is a fun word to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect to it and just do the 3 commands we did last time.
It was something I was like considering too, because once the whole thing crashes
Mm.
down, like when OpenShift goes down, I wanted to back up all the data I had there so I could just keep it persistent. So that was the
They
one
have
thing.
backup systems that you can look into. I don't think they have them on the sandbox, but
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what I
real
wanted, yeah.
OpenShift, you can set up frequent backups for this, and there is a storage facility for that. They do provide a storage facility for backups of your SQL instances and I think it'll be connected to the cluster, to this cluster or resource. So this guy here, you'll be able to set up backups with it, and they would be a place where it's stored, and you can restore from them if something was to go wrong. Anyway, so just again to showcase for anybody who needs to get back to that terminal again. So click on your MySQL item, click on the, and once it's pod I went to, and then click on terminal. Then from here, you're just gonna do the MySQL command, which you see here on this screen. I'm gonna scroll, I can't scroll. This line right here. So you do MySQL -u for the user, then grab the user from your secrets, database user, paste it in, do -p, and then copy and paste the database password in there. And that should connect you. To confirm, do show databases, and you can see, you should be able to see the Geeky Likes Dev, or in Mass Case Geeky Like Dev database name. I heard something in Slack. Make sure that's not needed for me.
Richie had to
Also
take off.
Ah, that was what it was. Thank you. Ah, got it. That's fine. We'll have the video. All right. So let's go ahead and do use Geeky Likes Dev tables. We see all of our tables that we wanted are there, ready to go from before. So it's all working as we expect. So the one we care about, of course, is our, it's our role, right?
Yes.
Yeah, role. So to role, we need to add those 3 roles that we have. So insert star, insert into role.
We don't see what you're typing.
Why is it doing that to me? Oh, expand. Clear.
Still don't see anything.
Hold on.
Oh,
I know
there we
I'm
go.
on it. Oh, that's not gonna work. Ooh, got it. What was that? L? Yeah. Control L or Command L? Control L. I did. Okay, cool. So now up here, I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna scroll up a little bit still. Yeah, kind of, not really. So here I'm gonna do insert into role. Let's do show table again, just make sure we got it. Tables. Insert into role. And again, exactly. Again, no one ever expects you to memorize these things exactly, so don't feel bad to actually look it up. Insert, just remember the order, because I know I need to do what happened.
Insert into role name
Yeah, it was just
values.
the name and then values, right?
Yes, paren, open paren.
Yeah.
Name, close paren. Values.
Table name. Oh, wait, no. Why do I feel like wrong?
Open paren, close paren. Around.
The name?
I believe so. And then values.
Table name. Oh yeah, you're right. Yep, parentheses. Yep, insert into that, and then name, and then values. And I should really do this looking right. I'm going to do this one more time. Hold on. You guys see it right. Insert into role name, which is the column name. So column name. So all the columns go in here, and then the values is each item here should represent whatever column. So 1 column, 1 value, 2 columns, 2 values, 1 for the first one, 1 for the second one. So this one we're just going to do, I think it was role user, right? Role user, role moderator, and role administrator, right?
Yep.
Do we know how we can verify?
You will.
Go into your local one.
Go here quick and just look at these. You want to match these 3. Role user, role moderator, role admin, not administrator. I'll use role user. Into role. That. Error. Use.
And this is manually inserting the data into the database, correct?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Now you could create a route to do that you can ping once, just to say, hey, add these. I can't remember who did it. I think maybe Jim did it, but someone did it where the very first time they go to add a user, if the roles aren't there, it'll add them automatically. So it'll check
I
to see if the
created
roles
that.
are there. That was Jim.
Yeah,
Yep. So very first time a user goes to create an account, the system will check to see if the database has the roles. If not, it will add the roles. So role moderator. And I'm just going to up arrow this time and just do There we go. So now if I do select
I-
our,
Was it
Um,
admin or admins?
it is admin. I went to my
Okay.
enum to double check. So we did admin on my application. So
Okay.
moderator, right? Yep, moderator. Yep. Good. So you see, we have our 3 roles now. So these are now good. We are now ready to go to start using Postman again to now communicate with our system. I'm going to grab that link here and get rid of all of this for now. I'm going to grab this URL as is. So all copy. So we're going to Postman. My key likes workspace. Sign in and sign up, if I remember correctly, are identical, except for, yeah, post though. Post, oh, that didn't save at all. I don't know. Paste that in, do API/auth/sign up, if I remember correctly. And in our body, we're going to do raw JSON. Then what do we need for
You
our
put
sign up?
Into
JavaScript.
JavaScript.
Dang it. What do we need for sign up? Anyone remember?
Need an email and a password.
An optional role, but it should default to the user
Right.
if
Yeah,
not
we don't do that.
specified.
So click one test. We'll do password. Tester. Go ahead and send that. Quite. So not available, huh? Why are you saying that? Fun of it.
Uh-oh.
No, didn't think so. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. I was going to say that URL here should be linked to it. No, actually, hold on. I think I know what it is. We don't have HTTPS set up. Kind of, but kind of yes, kind of no. So internal server error of the sign up. If I go quick to my application, I can check the logs. I'm actually kind of glad it broke. So we'll go here, apology. Click on our likes and go to logs.
Oh, it's called username, not email.
Oh, wait, it is username. Dang it.
It is an email, but it's called a username.
Yes, you're right. I don't know why I goofed that up. I totally knew that.
Do we have to
Name.
restart this since it crashed?
I don't think so. We'll find out though. Nope, we don't. I was gonna say it should already reboot it right away.
Ta-da.
Ooh, something worked. I'm not used
I
to
got a
that.
user. We'll sign in quick. Let's sign in, same details. Usually I got a token. Look at that. And I'm a role user. Holy crap.
That's cool. No, that you didn't have to.
Ta-da, ta-da.
We'll save this as my, yeah, we'll save it and override it because it didn't save anything. Let's go ahead and duplicate. We don't need to duplicate actually. We'll go ahead and do a new one. Where's my plus icon? There it is. Here, the authorization bearer token paste. Our URL, we'll go ahead and grab the URL from here. Paste. And that's what I realized, by the way. Now I know why my news didn't work. So I go /API/test/news/Red Hat. The reason why this one didn't work, HTTPS.
There we go.
There's all of our new stuff. So we didn't set up HTTPS, but Google Chrome likes to prioritize HTTPS, so it'll always try it. And Red Hat won't say that HTTPS is not available. It's just not set up and not configured to actually work. Currently, we don't have a DNS set up for that, or a route set up for that. So our route that we have set up on our topology, of course, is not a HTTPS route. It is an HTTP route. Even though Openshift technically is HTTPS friendly, we would have to set that up. So just note that your routes is not HTTPS. That's why it doesn't work. But you can, there is a way to do it. I don't know if Sandbox has it. There is a way, I just haven't really dug into it yet. I didn't really have the time yet to really dig into how to configure the HTTPS. It's not fully necessary for you to get an application running, but it can be nice if you have it. And depending on what APIs you're working with, if you're working with external APIs, some of them do require HTTPS. A lot of financial systems, when out of test mode, will require you to use an HTTPS URL. such as Stripe, for example. I believe Stripe will allow you to use HTTP and stuff like that for their test mode, but in order to go into production mode, you have to be on an HTTPS URL or system. So just be aware of that. Certain APIs do require HTTPS. And for sanity check, does anyone know the difference between HTTP and HTTPS?
It's a
Yep.
security thing, isn't it? It's
It is.
HTTPS is more secure.
But how?
That's what I don't know.
It uses
Nobody
an
knows.
SSL certificate.
Hmm.
And what does that do?
It provides a certificate.
It does, but what does the certificate do for us?
I think it just provides like, it gives you like
Isn't it like
I
safe
would give you
secure
like a
login?
key or like a.
It's an authorization thing.
Not quite.
It says
It's
it's
an
the
encryptor.
Vegas.
It's like,
Hold on, hold
no,
on.
not really
Instead of
identifies.
continuing to guess, it's just an encryptor. It encrypts the data in the body of the request. So the body of the request gets encrypted with the certificate file sent over, and then because of the file, the server can then decrypt it and get the data. It's why it's why you technically can do HTTPS sites in public. It is still not recommended because that data can be sniffed and potentially someone could try to unencrypt it. But it is encrypted. That's why it's better to, if you are going to be doing something on a public system, that it is HTTPS. So that way the data at least is encrypted, so a sniffer can't get it easily. But that's the main thing there, is that on HTTPS sites, the body of the request is encrypted. So it's not just raw text. So the password you send across isn't in raw text on the way through
Yeah.
the internet.
Gonna have to write that down. My stenographer is not here.
Gotcha. Let's see.
So it's like what we have in the password when we look at the SQL, when we see password, it's like a big, huge, like this stuff.
Yep, it does that to
encrypted.
the body of the request. Yep.
Hmm.
So on HTTPS, this body here that we send across on this, if it was HTTPS, this data would be encrypted on the way across, and on the way back, the response would also be encrypted, and our system on the side here would then decrypt it because of the SSL key, because of the public key. So we can encrypt and decrypt with that system. Yeah, it's the main thing behind HTTPS. It just allows for encrypted data. Like I said, it's not a perfect encryption, so don't look at it like, oh, it's encrypted, I can safely do this. No, there are ways to decrypt SSL systems. It's not perfect, but it is better than nothing, and it is safer. Tell me that. Don't care right now. So yeah, we got a token, we got all that. Let's go here quick. We're just going to go to the API. We're going to go to get. We're going to go API /developers. We're just going to get. Oh no, we got to create our developer account. So host API developers. JavaScript, not JavaScript again. JSON. So here, I want to do this name. Email. Let's look at that route actually before I keep going through this. User or developer controller. Kill this side off. I don't need this side over here. What? There we go. Pull those off. We got post mapping, create developer. We need a new developer. So let's just look at the developer role and see what we need. So model, developer. We just need the basic stuff. So we're just going to need name, email, and cohort, I believe is all we actually need. Yeah, all the other stuff is extra stuff. All the other items are fancy items. So name, email, and cohort. That was it. Email, that was one. I also love how my name I decided to do capital last name, not capital first name. Cohort
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with camel casing.
with a space though. Cohort 42.
No one said it was perfect.
Sure. All right, cohort 42. Here we go. Send it. Take a look. I now have an account.
Wow, ambitious. Cohort
Love it when
42.
stuff works. Oh my god.
That's gonna be the best cohort. It's the meaning of everything. Come on, meaning the life of the universe and everything. That's
Mostly
gonna be the
harmless.
best cohort. We don't have to skip that cohort. It's just
Are you
too
gonna
dangerous.
Are you gonna hand out towels for that cohort?
Oh, we totally should have put it in person again. We should have career devs towels for cohort 42.
Actually, it's
I'll
pretty
con-
interesting. Did you?
I'll
skip
continue
cohort
the
Whiskey
13?
back in my
Jeff
cup.
just, Jeff just lost his coffee. He didn't expect me to like that idea.
I'll continue the meme of holding up relevant pop culture items while we're discussing them.
I didn't get the coffee situation, but it was so funny to me. I don't know why.
What? Was that
I'm
Sergio?
sorry. The
You
towel
don't-
situation.
Do you not get it?
I do not get it now. But
You
it's
you
not
have
funny.
to-
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, it means you have not watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Or the universe. I mean.
Yeah, Sergio. Just
By the way,
watch
sorry
the
for
movie.
sorry for the internet problems. I don't know what the hell happened.
You
Movie.
can't apologize. That's not like you went and unplugged your Wi-Fi.
I
did you?
mean, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's
If you
just
did
a-
that, then fine, apologize. But if you didn't do it, then you're fine.
It's cursed. It's a cursed day.
No, Sergio, if you want to understand the jokes, just watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a movie. Yeah, Towel and
I've
42
heard
will make
about it.
sense.
Movie.
Yes.
I have
I watched the
heard about it.
1970. I watched the
Never saw the
1970s
movie, but I
version
read
of
the book.
BBC.
The BBC series, Jim?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
that.
jeez, no. I watched the modern.
All right,
I love
Sergio, I'm sending you a link to the trailer in Slack. Watch it later. You got to watch this movie.
The modern
Hitchhiker's
one,
Guide to the
please.
Galaxy.
Send him the modern.
Yes, of course.
Okay, good.
Oh, there's
gotta
multiple
gotta
versions.
make sure with you. And this is all in the video
Multiple
now. So anyway,
The
let's
one,
move on.
the one with yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
with Alan
just a quick
Rickman as
question.
Marvin. Yes, of
Did you
course.
not skip cohort 13 because it was like supposed to be bad luck?
Don't ask me. I didn't do it, but we did. Wasn't my choice to do it. 'Cause I don't have that superstition, but we did skip 13.
Oh, good.
Technically, in other religions, 13 is actually considered a lucky number. So
That's why
I'm
there's
perfectly
no
fine with it.
13th floor in buildings.
Right. But there's 13 floors in Japan buildings. There's no 4th or 9th floor usually, because
Oh,
both of those numbers sound like death. Yep, both of those numbers, the kanji sounds like death.
oh.
So they don't like those numbers. 4 and 9, they have 2 of them, 2 unlucky numbers. So yeah, core 42, so we're good, so we got that. So now if I go back and I just do get now to developers and hit send, we shall see the list of myself.
There you go. Whee.
So now we should be able to test all the routes in our system, be able to run through all the systems over time. We should be able to create a geek out. What I'm going to end up actually doing is just adding the front end next week. But yeah, the main thing here, just it's not that difficult to get these things up and connected once you know the main key elements there. Now you know about the idea of environment variables. So environment variables, let's do a quick sanity check on that. What is an environment variable? Does anyone know?
Oh, God. Old school.
Tell him, Freddie.
Just think of the
You
just
tried
think of
to
the word.
explain it to me, but I didn't get it.
What
Just
was that
think about the
question
word.
again?
Just think about the word.
What are
environment
environment
variable.
variables?
Yeah, what are environment
yeah,
variables?
yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Just think about the name of it, environment variable. What does that
It's
mean
like
to you?
it's like your port number, your
It can be. That is an environment variable. What are environment variables?
Variables that define your environment.
It's accessed within a certain environment.
well,
I
it's
want
like
to say that again in a
like
second,
what
Travis, but
OS you were. Oh, okay.
hold on. What was I saying? Matt, you're not wrong, but you're also not fully right either. That's actually a valid statement. But Travis, what did you say?
It's accessed within a certain environment.
Variables within an environment. They are variables inside of an environment. And so you set them all, meaning you can set your own port environment variable. You can set your own, now certain environment variables are set by the operating system. They are set by default, they're already there, but you can also modify them. In any SQL system, so when you all actually have, and all, definitely in Unix, I know Windows has something as well, I just don't know if it's called the same thing. We have one called path. Dang it. And there we go. This is an environment variable. Whenever you type something like CD or mkdir or that term code, any of these items here, those commands that when we do, if we do, let's say, hello, and it says command not found hello, we see that command there, we know that command of command not found. When I type, let's do.
The stuff that is variables are built into the system, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. CD projects, dang it. Dang it.
Right.
It's like typing WinVer on Windows. It tells you what version of Windows you have.
And again, the main thing I want to make sure it's very clear though is that these are not built into the system technically. They are set by the system because of instructions. At the same time, I can create my own.
We do it in Postman quite a bit if you're using a lot of different
So to
routes.
prove a point, port We see that that's empty, right? That's not an environment variable. Cohort 12 is not an environment variable, but if I want, export cohort 12 equals, what do we want cohort 12 to say?
Wouldn't you need to point it at something
Hello,
specific in
creatives.
order so that it actually yeah, there you go.
Give me a towel.
There you go.
So now for the same thing, and there you go. No, I don't have to point at anything specifically. It is just a variable in your computer, in your operating system. They
Did
are
these only-
variables. Go ahead.
But
Did
you
these-
said
Do these last as long as you have the terminal open, or is there now going to be a permanent variable inside of your system that's called cohort 12?
I learned
question.
this. Those usually should be inside this box because I had to edit my bash file to be able to
Right,
actually
so
make
Jim, I was
them
gonna get to that in a
permanent for
second, yeah.
everyone I open up.
So no, when you do an export command by default, they are not permanent.
Okay.
To make them permanent, you have to update what's called your bash profile or your profile system. And so in Mac, we have two of them now. We have Zish or Zash or whatever it is, Zbash, and we have bash. So in this one, I have ls, where is it exactly?
You're using Z, aren't you?
Yeah, Zbash.
Hmm.
Or Zish.
Yeah, Zish. That's a really nice Z shell. It's actually pretty good. I'm just using bash at the moment.
HRC. So there's that. And so if I do nano, that VS HRC. This
I
is
just learned
the
all this.
bash profile for my system, where as you see here, my SQL system, remember how I kept having to export my SQL path to my path because it wasn't updating automatically. So I have that now. This is where I can add those. Now, if I do want cohort 12 to be a permanent environment variable of my system, I can add export cohort 12. That makes sense several days from now.
You have to set it first before you can export it, right?
What's that?
You have to set it first.
No, you just export. Export is setting.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah,
oh, you-
all
that's right.
possible variables exist. They just don't have anything until you define them and give them something. They're all empty by default.
Mhm.
By doing this, I
So-
can now do X, yes, enter. Now, again, this is not ready yet. If I export it again, it's still not there yet because I've only edited the file. I haven't told ZASH Zish to look at it. There's two ways I can do that. I can either close this out and open a new one, which every time we open a new terminal, it loads the profile. So it'll load that Zish file. Otherwise, I can also just do source tilde backslash dot ZSHRC. And now, yeah, bring it out. So now it's loaded into this terminal. But again, and now if I close and reopen a terminal now, like last time when I did this, it got rid of that item. If I do it now, it'll see it's now permanent. Now a permanent environment variable on this device. Now, yes, if I was to have code that relied on this variable and I was to send that code to you into your system, you don't have the environment variable, so it won't work. You can also have your own environment variable because your environment's different. On Sergio's environment variable, he has no idea what bring a towel means, so you can just say bring a gun because he's going to space. It's like, I'm
One
gonna
of
bring a
the-
blaster.
One of these, what
So-
this was really good is the Java home. You should set Java home as a variable where Java lies. So when IntelliJ, Eclipse, or any other ones wants to know where Java is, it goes to Java home _home, and it knows where to look for it.
Anyway, do we need to explain? You want to explain that more? Feel free to do that in Slack or something. That's extra information that isn't really needed to do your jobs.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
if it doesn't get set, sometimes your IDEs don't find it because it's like, where's Java home? I'm like, where's Java home? I have to set it first.
Oh,
So
like I said, if you
I've
want
set
to
it
tell me about that,
in
feel free,
I've
but
set it in like
I-
all my operating systems because it's
I
like,
don't think I have it. Do I have it?
no. Java _home. Yeah,
Yeah, I figured that. So
yeah.
formatting for environment variables are always all caps and with underscores in between. So they do the title case, or not title case, sorry, caps. They do all caps. So they're similar to the constant case. The variables actually don't have the $sign. The $sign in Bash just says to extract the data out of a variable. So the $sign isn't part of the variable. The $sign just is telling it to actually get the value on the variable. So that's why when you saw in the export commands, I didn't actually do a $sign on export. Export core 12, you see there's no dollar there because I'm not trying to get the value. I'm just trying to print the value. So I don't put it there.
when I said pointing at like So you set the variable
Mhm.
as bring a towel. You set it to the
Mhm.
string bring a towel. If I wanted to set a variable, like if I was using it and I frequently wanted to check the, the location of a folder,
Mhm.
can I just point it at something specific? Like, okay, so now whenever I type Java home, Java version, it'll just go ahead, and I know there's already a command for it, but I'm just using it because you have Java in there.
So here's my
If I
projects
told
folder.
it that I want, yep,
So export. Objects. EIR, common terminology, directory, equals users /f /projects to that. And now if I look inside of this folder again, I can see that I have a folder called, let's see, CH12. So I'm going to do CD, just to my root directory. And now I'm going to do CD, $, EIR / CH12. I went straight to it. So yeah, you can actually store URLs in there, directories. Again, the path variable, what I was trying to clarify before, echo $path. All this is just a bunch of folders separated by colons. So the colon here separates it. So this is a folder here, this is a folder here. And so whenever I write a command like echo or export or cd or make directory or code or MySQL, any of those, what bash does, or zish in this case, it checks for that command in these folders. If it doesn't find the command in any of these folders, it says doesn't find it. But this is telling it where to look for those commands I type in. So in one of these, most likely in like one of the bins here, is like CP. CP is actually a application or a command, or it has a file for it that allows copying to work. So CD has a command somewhere that tells it how it works, things like that. Make directory, move, all those. Git is somewhere in one of these folders. Node, like we installed before. That's again in one of these folders. I believe I could do.
It's no version, and then no versions, like probably right there. It's your fourth one with the .mvm version node 14.
Oh, what is it called? What's the command? There actually
MVM.
is a command to find it.
MVM. Oh, where? Yeah,
No.
yeah. Where is and which? The
That's
other
it,
one I think
which.
was- yeah,
That's what I was
which.
looking for. Here it is. Yep. So
Yeah.
this is the location it finds it in. When it searches for that command, it finds it in here. If we looked really carefully, we would. There it is, right there. There's the folder right there that it is pulling from. So it searches inside of this folder to find nodes. When I type node, there it is. Well, it's one of those. I don't think that's one there, but one of them.
No, it's user. It's the same one.
Yeah.
That's what user.
NVM version node. Yep, that's it. Yep, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. So that's how environment variable works. Environment variables are variables stored on a system, on a computer. And so they only work on the environment. Like I said, if I had a project that was based on my cohort 12 environment variable, I can run that, have it use it, and every time I access it, I get to bring a towel item. If I was to send my exact same project, like I said, to Sergio, who doesn't get the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy references, his cohort 12 environment variable could be anything else. Like I learned Java, get your dragons or Dracotis, whatever. Hotel work sucks. I don't think Sergio realizes I'm talking about him.
No, I don't think so.
Nope. Sergio, are you with us?
Huh?
Yeah.
He is.
I
Hello.
don't think you can. Uh-oh.
that's not good.
Hmm.
You would have been asked him to unmute, see if I get his attention.
The lights are on, but no one's home.
I hate when this happens. He's gonna hate this in the video later. Wait, I think I got him.
Oh.
Aha, the bell has gone off.
Yep, I pinged him.
What's that? What
We were
happened? I couldn't
talking
hear
with
that.
you. Yeah, we were talking to you and you were not hearing anything.
I would not hear. I was like, why did it go quiet all of a sudden?
And we can comment about the environment variable saying like, from my environment variable, I had to bring a towel, but if I was to send my exact same program to you, since you don't get the reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, your environment variable will probably say something like Dracotis or dragons or I learned Java. So that's the thing though, environment variables are local. So I was just trying to include you in a joke and you were completely just nothing. I set you up in everything.
Not my day today, not my
I was
Monday.
banking on your humor, man. I gave you a perfect setup to have a fun joke for a moment there.
Nope.
It's all good. Nope, it happens. It's exactly when it happens. Exactly when you set someone up, it's like, nope, not there. But like great for the awkward silence moment.
I'm gonna up the volume here because seriously.
The crickets
No
come
worries.
out.
Yeah. It's all good. But yeah, so that's what, so with the environment variables, that's kind of the point here. If I wanted to, I could actually set up those same environment variables we set up on Openshift here in my system with the export command and have it use those as well. Spring data source URL. Again, the thing we have to mind, of course, is by doing it this way, this would be temporary for that terminal. So I'd have to add it to my bash script system and make sure it actually is added so that, what is it? This system sees it, which I think is where the problem is, why I was having trouble with getting my application properties to recognize them, because they were ZISH environment variables and not OS environment variables. So that's why I'm thinking that IntelliJ was having trouble accessing them within the application properties. So I do need to figure out more on how to make sure that they do communicate and that those environment variables that I set for my Mac system are actually global and accessible by IntelliJ, regardless of what environment is running.
So you can use global variables in here?
You can, I haven't been able to work because I haven't been able to get the environment variables to stick and set where Java can see them. That's been my problem.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah. Oh, 100% you can use environment variable in here. The syntax thing is $ curly bracket and then the environment variable name.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely use environment variables in here. I just haven't got them to work because of how Mac works with it and how environment variables work with ZISH, Bash, and IntelliJ. So I'm definitely want to play with that, but at the same time, this works. So I'm fine.
Oh.
But yeah, you can set environment variables, and the purpose of the environment variables again is we might run the same application on different environments, right? We're gonna run this right now on Openshift, but let's say in a couple months we get a huge discount offer from like AWS or Google and like, hey, load your program here. It's like, all right, cool, I'll send it over there. Well, that database name, the database password, the URL for the database is going to be different. Well, that's where the environment variables come into play. I place the new environment variables on that system that's hosting the IntelliJ site or program, and now it's going to go ahead and use those new variables. No change to the system itself, just those environment variables. So I use the same application in 2 different locations, but because the environment variables are different, IntelliJ is able to work without changing them. Otherwise, I'd have to change these items right here every single time I build it. That's where environment variables become useful. Environment variables tells you how that environment works. At least that's the benefit, that's the purpose of them. Environment variables are supposed to tell you about the environment that you're on. But again, I want to make sure it's very clear that that's how they're supposed to be, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will be that, because they are user defined. Even though a program may set them or an application may set them, like we said before, port may be automatically set. A program set it, but again, we know all programs are created by users. So all environment variables are created by a user in some way, shape, or form by being coded that way. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are sometimes hidden joke environment variables on certain systems, because we know we have the I'm a teapot HTTP code. So any questions on that? Cool. So main goal, just what's that?
I was gonna say, so what you just did right there from the terminal, if you did the same thing on the terminal that's in Openshift, will it save then?
Like I said, I haven't been able to figure out how to get Mac to do it, where if I do that, how to set an environment variable that is system-wide. I can do it where I know how to do it this way, where it is instance-wide. So exports this one right here. This will be instance-wise. Only this terminal has it. If I was open up another tab or another terminal, it won't have it. I know how to set it.
I mean, in the terminal that's inside of OpenShift, the one that you were using to manually add in the users. If you did it there, could you set the environment variables?
I'm gonna
Like,
say
I
most
need you to do this
likely.
specific.
I'm gonna say most likely no, because again, each of those environments are built from the build config fresh every single time. So I could set environment variables for that one pod by doing it through the terminal. That's only going to modify the pod. It's not going to modify the build config. And so as soon as a new pod gets developed or a new pod gets spun up, because of load balancing, it won't have those new environment variables.
So would you set it on the actual application instead
The
of the
build
pod?
config. No, the build config. That's why we set it where we set it. That's why we went to builds, not that button. And here we did the edit build config. Whenever we build a new build, it uses these settings to build that build. And so we're telling it, hey, when you create this new environment, make sure to set these 3 environment variables on that environment.
Got
You
it.
can
So we're
add
just
new
telling
ones.
it, yeah. And so we
You
can
can
add more
new ones
here, edit them, yeah. That's why it's actually really great that Matt had his issues, because we saw him multiple times have to update and edit his environment variables. When he did that, though, it didn't affect that current build. He had to do a new build that was then created with those new environment variables. What he could have done, of course, was he could have probably gone to the terminal for that build and changed it, but then again, that would have been a temporary change.
Wouldn't he have needed to rebuild the application?
No, because the application doesn't care about it. We're just building the environment. So,
But if you use,
yeah, he never rebuilt his application to get those working. We never rebuilt our application after we added these. We just rebuilt the environment and used the same uploaded GitHub URL. We haven't updated our Java project to GitHub in 2 weeks now. So we haven't done anything to make our Java application work other than just set the environment variables so that Java knows, hey, this is where I need to connect. So those multiple builds we did was just to rebuild a new environment with those environment variables. And the reason we did it this way is to make sure that in the future, when we do send up new versions of our application and it rebuilds the environment, it has the same environment variables. We don't have to add them again.
could you add the like the news API key as a variable and then attach it into the application?
I believe so, but again, I would have to. I'm personally gonna have to check that later, because again, these were application properties that we created, and I'm unsure if what am I looking for? The one I'm thinking in my head. If we create a identical version of this, again, gigalikes_app_JWT or gigalikes_app_news API key, and put this in, if that'll be recognized by by Java, by Spring Boot. I think so,
yeah.
but I haven't tested it.
Because I was thinking you would want to hide your key into the OpenShift's
Of course.
environmental table, because you don't want to expose like that. But
Of course.
yeah, but I was
So
just
I might
thinking
test that on my own for Monday, for next Monday, and then let you know that that does work. Or if you want to test it, by all means.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it too.
Yeah, I just haven't tested with original properties like this. That's all. I've used only the built-in Spring properties for environment variables so far. So I know Spring is looking for environment variable first and then application property variable next. There's also the ability to actually create alternate application properties that are based on mode. So you can create like a dev application properties and a production application properties. I haven't done too much details onto that myself. So if you want to look into that, feel free to do so. Again, I can only scratch the surface of what you can do with Spring and JavaScript. There's so much you can do with this. Instead of doing environment variables, you can do application properties that are environment specific. So you can create a OpenShift application properties and have all the keys, all the information there. You can have a dev versus production environment application properties. There's a bunch of different things you can do. It really just bases on the situation and what makes the most sense to you and what works for your setup. A lot of times I only learn the new things because what I'm working on for a client is so edge cased that I have to use a different version, a different approach than I've used before. And that's when I learned about these other approaches to do the exact same thing, but that approach exists because of an edge case where, yeah, I can't set the environment variables. I don't have the right, they're just something that the hosting environment doesn't use. So you know what, I got to use application properties instead. So. Any other questions? Main goal for Monday, for this, is just make sure that your version of GigaLikes is accessible via the Postman, so you can start interacting with it. I would also propose the challenge to try to get your either your car app or whatever you got working for your current version of once your project is Postman communicable. Once you're able to do Postman communications with it, a couple of them, then you can start practicing uploading it to OpenShift and get that practice in, because you have the sandbox, might as well take advantage of it. Minimum for the homework for Monday is make sure you do actually have a running version of Geeky Likes on OpenShift that you can Postman with. All right. Cool. And that's it for today. 9 o'clock. We're done.
Good.
Any follow-up stuff? So anybody want to get feedback on their projects and stuff like that? Like another 10 minutes or something.
I will.
I feel like somebody sent me a message on Friday or something that they wanted to get their project reviewed because I didn't get to them. Who was that?
That was me.
Oh, do you still want that or?
Yeah.
I already said anything.
I'm feeling a bit off tonight, so I just.
Okay.
I didn't really feel like talking much.
You have been oddly quiet today, but if you want to wait till tomorrow, I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really have like much to say, but we could take a look at it.
Yeah, give me an option, because we did end a couple minutes early, so before 9. So wanted to open the floor for anyone who wanted to take it. So if you want to do it, we can. Your call.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Share your item.
Let me see. I gotta find it 1 sec.
Right. Spur of the moment. Not ready. I get it.
Yeah, normally I'm ready for that. Here's where's my share? It's just on my Trello board. I just
Nice. Yours is different than mine. I like it.
I just wasn't sure if I was utilizing this correctly, and
It's hard to say with anything related to Trello, whether you're using it right or not. The real goal of Trello is just, does it keep you momentum? Does it keep the momentum up? So there's
Okay.
multiple different ways to use Trello. I showed the Agile add-on. I don't always use it. If I'm doing it for a personal project, I don't need it because I don't need story points and stuff like that. And I don't need the organization for myself, but when I'm working with it, where there's other people going to be looking at the board, it's nice to have those things so that makes it more organized and legible for non-developers.
Yeah, and I've never really used Trello, but I know
Mhm.
that it is used, by companies in the wild.
Yeah.
So I just thought this would be a good time to kind of like get familiar
Yeah.
with it. So I just wasn't sure, like when you're building the, this card or whatever, the description and, would I put, like a checklist of fields or something that I wanted built in here? Is that how you would kind of plan this all out, or?
The main thing is here to be descriptive enough that you can do your task, but not being overly descriptive where you waste time writing these cards out.
Right.
These cards shouldn't be a time suck where you're pulling time away from development to try to make the cards super detailed. They're really just here as the main thing you want to take with these is you follow the same rule of PowerPoint that most people fail anyway. PowerPoint should not be a script for you. It should be key points that remind you what you want to say.
Okay.
So in this case, same thing. Just reminders of what you're trying to build, not descriptions.
So you don't need to go all out and say, all right, I want an entity of a dog, and I don't need to be, put in
all the fields
a controller and all these roots and.
No. If you want, like I said, you can create a checklist of just for the dog entity saying controller, model, and repository. And then you just check those off. No details as to what goes in each one. Just remind you that for the dog entity, I need these 3 things. I need a controller, a model, and a repository for it.
Okay, so that's like high levels.
Exactly.
Stuff.
And you only go as low as you need for you to finish the task. If you need those smaller items, add them. If you don't need them, don't add them. The main thing is these should only be as descriptive as it needs for you to be able to finish the task.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The only thing I would say though is if you really wanted to have the Trello board like all this, and you wanted to have it part of your code, doing the description stuff, do that after the project's done. You can just totally just go right out and make it a lot nicer. But
be careful. I will say there is a history. Just be aware there is a history on it. that is public. So they can definitely look and see that you added all the details later. Just
I
be aware
just
of that.
figured it would just look nicer instead of just wasting time while you're doing it, you know, you could just. you know,
Again,
punch it up
but
at the
don't worry
end.
about that because again, they're not looking for a fluffy Trello board. All they want to know is that you have a process that you follow that they can easily teach you their process then. So by showing that you have a process, whether it doesn't have to match theirs, because again, you're only using it for yourself. This is a board for just you. So just they are aware of that. The real goal of this is showing that you are understanding of management tools and time management tools and just organizational tools that you can use that are similar to what they have. So it shows they understand project management. They understand that there are tools for that. They understand the idea of moving cards around and putting in details. And so, you know what, it'll be easy. This is going to be easier for us to train them on our project management system. They're not expecting you to use the project management tools the same way they do for a couple of reasons. One, you're probably not using the same system they are. Two, again, you're not creating things that are supposed to be legible to developers of the same team and other people. You only need to create cards that are understandable to you and you alone. As long as it's understandable to you, it's done. It's a good enough card. In their system, they need to make sure the cards are understandable by the team. And last but not least, they also make sure that the cards can be understood by non-developers. So like some of them, the Trello boards are also containing bug reports and stuff that the salespeople can go in to see how's that bug progressing, or how the tech support can go in to see how is that bug progressing. Is it in the current sprint? Is it being worked on? Is there additional information that's needed? Can I add more additional information? So then, one more thing actually as well, what you're using will never match theirs. They're probably using a paid version of something. So they're likely using, some sort of enterprise level project management tool. So either a paid version of Trello, something called Jira. Jira is a very popular one as well. Could be using Salesforce. Salesforce has a Trello side to itself, which is part of the reason why we are teaching them.
Boo.
That's
Yeah,
why
no,
you
on
have to
camera.
go sign in with Salesforce, that thing.
Why are you guys dissing Salesforce? We do have a Salesforce cohort. Don't forget that.
No, I just
And this
like
is recorded
Salesforce
too.
for a separate reason.
Okay. Got it. But yeah, so don't panic too much about using it correctly. The main thing is that you want to be using it in a way that's going to benefit you in the project, that you're spending just enough time on there to make sure that you know what you're going to do when you finish a task, that you're never at the end of a task being like, well, I don't know what to do next. At any time, you can just go to that Trello board and be like, all right, what do I want to do next? Well, I could do these. Let me pull these over. For some, and again, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can, and when I added story points, you could also add importance and use flags or colors to mark them as high importance, where this item I need to get done first because other items rely on it. Hell, whenever you find a bug and you found a error in your code, if it's not something that you need to deal with right away, add it as a ticket to deal with later. And so that way it's at the top and you can say with a high importance, and you're like, hey, it's something I need to fix eventually. It's a bug, it's a logic bug. So the program still works, it still runs, but I'm not saving the cohort number right. Or yeah, the dog's name comes in backwards. Don't know why it's saving backwards. I got to figure it out. Don't need to figure it out now, but I do need to figure that out eventually. So you add that as a card. Just that way, when you finish whatever you're currently working on, you can look and be like, what do I want to work on now? I don't really feel like working on something new. So you know what? I'm going to fix that bug with the backwards dog name. You can just easily look at the board and just grab something whenever you're unsure what to work on next. It gives you that ability to go and just be like, what do I want to work on? When you don't know exactly, when you're not like, I know what I'm going to do next. This gives you a place to go look and be like, what do I want to do next? And the last thing it can also do is just give you that dopamine fix, or that positive hit when you start moving cards over. It shows progression and shows that you're completing stuff. And it helps you feel that sense of accomplishment when you're moving tasks over. And for some people, that's very, very helpful. Some people don't need it. They will do the work regardless of completion and feeling that dopamine and being the pat on the back from themselves. But some people need it. I know I do. I like to see completion. I like to see things progressing. So I like games. So, any other questions? Any other feedback on the items? What's that, Jim?
I have a thing. I learned this weekend. They have Git templates now on GitHub.
Okay.
Let me just show.
Explain.
So
Elaborate.
so what you could do is you could set up a repo. I set the start repo, and because every time I start a brand new repo, I always put my git ignore in here, which is like 275 lines long. It ignores like a lot of things. So tired of doing that all the time. Also, you can create branches and everything you want. You could create whatever the repo you want it to have. You can have the directories, you can have anything in here, but when you start a brand new repo, after you say, make that a repo, after you say, make that a template. So now when I start a new repo, I can say, use this template, and then it will just generate, it'll give me that whole repo. And whatever I type in, it'll just give me that template. So you can actually template out anything you want.
It's kind of like forking it, but except it's considered, so it's similar to a fork, except it's an original repo instead of a copy.
Yeah, and you can say include all branches or don't. If so, I have multiple branches. You can say, yeah, bring me all my branches in. So if you add dev branch with certain setups, you add testing with certain setups, you can bring them all in, and your repo is good to go, ready to go, and off you go.
Certain languages will benefit this way more. For Java, I'm not too worried about it, especially with Spring Boot, because you guys have the Spring Boot starter, which starts it all up for you, including the GitHub. But some languages could really benefit from this. So.
Yeah, I only do it because I want to bring in the two things, and I want to bring in my my git ignore, and I'm tired of like editing it every time. So I just bring that in. So I just wanted to show you that. 'Cause I figured maybe you, Cliff, could take advantage of it, because I'm sure that you might have like starters that you want to start off with.
Probably. I just have to think about it more. It's on my head.
But yeah, you could actually do a default Spring and make that a default repo. And what you do is when that brings it in, you just maybe have to go in and just change the project names, but that could be a default repo. It's your Spring starter. And you have everything you need to go, you just run it.
Makes me wonder if there's any sort of like templating or template formatting that you can do inside of any of those files for that. With any sort of like placeholder stuff, so that you can, when you create it, you can maybe add in like a name. So that'd be something to look into. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
GitHub does a lot of stuff. It's also, I also found out about a tool called Gitpod, which allows you to do like cloud-based development on stuff, which is really interesting. So there's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of developer tools. A lot of them look interesting, and some of them are just that. They're interesting, but I'm like, I don't know if I'd actually use it. But there's always cool stuff to find. Yeah, keep sharing stuff.
No, I like I like just have my own that one template. That's good for me now.
So again, so tomorrow we have algorithm day. So what we'll do again for the first 30 minutes of class, we'll actually do, we'll open the floor, but then for the next 30 minutes, we'll go ahead and do breakout rooms for the teams to meet up for one last little bit of like meeting, discussion, coding for like another 30, 45 minutes. And then we'll review some of the problems. Probably not all of them this time. I won't review them all. We'll just spot check people's code. And then we'll actually do another item where we'll actually have more time for you guys to actually work on the algorithms in class instead of outside of class. All right. So we'll look at some solutions.
Is there going to be a classroom submission for the 3 that we just did? Or the 2?
There will be. Yes, I will make one. Thank you.
Sorry,
make sure I make that. No, that's needed. It's important. I said before, I need attempts from people, so I'll get that up for you guys. And then yeah, Saturday we'll actually get back into not Saturday, Thursday. That word. Thursday we'll actually get back to doing some more OpenShift, Java Spring Boot stuff to actually get, and we'll do the reset of React on the car app. So again, anybody wants to send me their app, I only got one so far, so most likely it'll be theirs. So we'll be using that one so far, but if anyone wants to submit their Car Express app for the front end, feel free to provide it so I can at least do a Wheel of Doom on it. But if not, we will use that one. So other than that, I'm fine with that. Don't worry about it. We have one. The main thing is we have one. That's all that's needed. We have one that we can use. So if we need to, we'll use that one. If anyone wants to submit theirs because they want to use theirs, at least have it possibly be chosen, go for it. But yeah, we'll go ahead and reset. We'll do React from the beginning on the car app on Thursday. So be fresh on React, which means I'll probably have Leah join us for that, possibly. I don't know. I'll check with her what she wants to do. So as you guys leave, I'll go and check with her, see what she wants to do. So all good?
All good.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you.
Have a good night.